The Ravens, they go to London early. It pays off, especially in the first half. Got a little dicey in the second half, but hey.
We love to do it.
But Baltimore is walking out or flying out of London 4-2, big victory, first victory overseas. And yeah, I mean, I think for Ravens fans, that is a win that overall you feel good with. Now, there were some plays that we want to dive into. One of them being, which was a big moment as the Ravens were trying to hold on, obviously, in the second half. Kyle Hamilton, one of their best players, gets tossed for what's deemed as an illegal hit, helmet to helmet. Tough moment. Do we have that video, Brad?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. Yep.
Perfect. So you guys can take a look at this for what we're referring to here. Kyle Hamilton head to head or helmet to helmet contact with, I believe it was Chris Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. So Cole Jackson was able to pull this up to show this end zone angle, which shout out Cole. This is great context in full speed of what that means. And you could see, to me personally, I don't know about you, Zach, that doesn't look like a malicious hit.
No, and it's one of those things, and it's why I keep saying about this. If you want to say that's 15 yards, okay, he did hit him helmet to helmet.
By the book.
No problem.
Yes.
I have no problem with that at all.
It is 15 yards. I completely agree. He went in helmet to helmet, 15 yards. The ejection makes no sense to me. I just don't understand how you can look at that and think, because I know they had refs looking at it in slow-mo out in New York. I don't know how you can look at that and go, oh, yeah, there was malicious with intent, especially with Kyle Hamilton's track record. It's not like this is a guy who every week we see him laying guys out and delivering dirty hits. This is honestly probably the biggest hit I've ever seen Kyle Hamilton lay on somebody. Yeah. And guy is coming down. He's going to try to break up a pass at the 3-yard line. It's not like this was a 2-yard screen pass.
No.
This is a deep ball that he's trying to break up a touchdown. So if you want to give him 15 yards, perfectly fine. He did the penalty. But to get ejected was, I think it caught everyone off guard.
Well, and for me, like if we go back to this view right here, you can see Kyle Hamilton's actually reaching for the football. So you can literally tell that he's making an attempt to dislodge the ball from the receiver. And it just so happened that, you know, their helmets were coming in at the same time. I don't really see how Kyle Hamilton was leading with his helmet. It wasn't like he was turning himself into a human spear and targeting this guy. It was just, a bang play. And we actually saw other plays in this game where there was helmet to helmet contact on Lamar Jackson, and that wasn't called. So I really don't get the ejection at all. And Kyle Hamilton was, talking about how that was bullshit. I agree. I think it was without a doubt bullshit that he got ejected from that game. But totally agree. Hey, there's zero tolerance for helmet to helmet. Yeah. Throw the flag, fine. But to kick him out, it made no sense, especially that early in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that again, so it was a moment there for Ravens where you lose one of your best players. Now, the Ravens got off to a hot start. You could say that they struggled to put away drives. The defense was great, and you had a substantial lead. I believe it was 15 at the half, if I do the math correctly.
Yeah, fifth. Yeah.
I thought I had it, but it's like when you second-guess yourself at least 8 or 9 or 12 times in a row. That's where I'm at. But for the Ravens, it got close, especially in that second half where the Titans outscored the Ravens 10-0, and now it's a ball game. Now, the Ravens did close it out and win 24-16. Ryan Tannehill goes down. But I guess for a little barometer for you guys, what's it feel like for the Ravens that they are found a way to win, but there is something about that some of these close games are making you a little nervous?
Yeah. So for me, I thought that this was a staggering stat that CBS had put up. And that was, the NFL
Network. Yeah.
And that was that I knew that this was a problem. I guess I just didn't know that it was this much of a problem. So, 5 losses with double-digit leads since the start of 2022. That's tied for the most in the NFL. 8 losses with a 7+ point lead in the fourth quarter since 2021. Most in the NFL, and 10 losses when entering in the fourth quarter since 2021. That is the most in the NFL. If you guys can recall last year, the huge struggles that the Ravens were having closing out games. I mean, the one that stands out the most to me is that Miami Dolphins game last year where they were up by 21 points in the fourth quarter and below it. And we saw it with the Bills last year as well. There's a lot of scrutiny that gets put on the offense. And, look, Greg Roman last year and the year before, questionable calls, no doubt about it. But, there was really little scrutiny on the defense. And it's one thing to be leading in the all these categories as far as the defense is concerned. And it's great. Roquan Smith is playing out of his mind. But what is it about this defense that just can't keep the other team from scoring late in the game? I just don't understand that. And would love to yield to you guys on your thoughts on those numbers and the defense in late in games.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, I think I can't really give you an answer on it because it is mind-boggling. Because, like you said, the Ravens are so good in so many statistical categories, and then it's like the fourth quarter happens, and it's a whole different ball club. And so it's so weird. I don't know if it's, the type of scheme we're running in the fourth quarter, doing that prevent defense, which is the dumbest thing in the world. But it's just one of those things where it's weird. And we were actually talking about this a little bit before. I wonder how much mental it is, where it's like the other team starts creeping up and you start having those, oh God, because as a fan, I can tell you I have it every week that we have a big lead and then it's the fourth quarter and it's like, oh God, why does 17 points suddenly 8? And it's like, we're not going to do this, right? And, I'm not going to be upset at the win because beating Tennessee in London was never a guarantee. But still definitely feeling a little weird about the late game defense.
Especially because I'm sorry, Ryan, but especially because the schedule doesn't get easier from here. And I'll let you take it away, Ryan.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I think that's a big thing. The schedule does not get easier. And again, people will complain and look at, well, the Ravens should be 6-0, but you see, you're going to stumble in games, right? It's natural. And we're seeing it across the NFL with the Ravens, to the point bringing it up. It just has felt like, if you look at them, if you could put them up against any team, and there isn't a team in the NFL that I don't think the Ravens can go and beat, right? I think that's where people and fans look at, of going talent-wise, offensively, defensively, toe-to-toe. Is there a team that the Ravens can't go out and win against? And I don't have a team, even as good as San Francisco. I think the Ravens can match up well with San Fran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem is the conversation, I should say, is can you execute down the stretch to put games away? And in this case, even though it's very hard to win in Pittsburgh, you had a 10-0 lead in Pittsburgh and you didn't score again from the second quarter on. Mm-hmm. And you lose that game 17-10. Now we know that it's a team sport, but again, that's a tough loss. We talk about last year's games where the Ravens, those were big moments, but you found a way to not close the game out. And as much as Kansas City is not playing their best game offensively, I feel like people just always think, and isn't that what you want from your team, is that no matter what happens, it's close. Oh, Kansas City's still going to find a way to win this game. And then even against that Lions game, that's the only game that they lost. It's a very good team. Kansas City could be 6-0 and still playing ugly football. Yeah. And I think that's what, for the Ravens, continuing to figure out how to win ugly games. So that's a positive for the team. I'll take it. And I think there's actually one question up here about that. Yard, you could have taken more time to get off the field or get the field goal at least. Look, I'm happy actually they took the points there. I thought that was a game where sometimes we talked about this, Brad, where teams get a little bit too cute at times. And the Chargers are one of those teams where you try to play the analytics, but because the Ravens kept taking the points, you continue to put pressure back on the other team. And ultimately that added up to a Ravens victory. And in that case, you still have the best kicker in the world. You feel automatic. And that's in the past, Brad, come back to bit the Ravens, or bite. Bite is the correct word.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say to that. I think that there was the one play where Ravens were, 2 yards from the end zone. and they decided to kick it then, and it was like very early on. If it's early in the game, I think that it's more than acceptable to try to go after the tud, because I mean you're pinning the Titans back, on the 2-yard line, and so the chances you're getting the ball back with good field position are pretty high, especially the way that we saw Tannehill playing, and D Hop was just getting shut down. So you know, and the way that the Ravens play the first half of ball games, I would have said that I wouldn't have been upset even if they didn't get into the end zone. I wouldn't have been upset about that call, because I think that was the appropriate one early in the game. But yeah, taking the points everywhere else made total sense to me. That would just have been the one time that I've been like, you know what, Lamar Jackson has been running into the end zone with types of plays, and pretty easily, I might add. So I think that a design run play going into the end zone at the 2-yard line would have made a bunch of sense at the beginning of the game, of course.
Yeah, I also wonder, that last field goal that the Ravens took on the goal line could pin Tennessee. I wonder how much Tannehill being out and Malik Willis being the quarterback for the Titans impacted that.
Oh, for sure.
Because suddenly it's, okay, if it's Tannehill, he has experience in this. But is Malik Willis, if you kick it, it's a 2-possession game, field goal and a 2-point conversion. Now that's 3 things that Malik Willis has to pull off perfectly. So I think it had a lot to do with also the fact that the Ravens were like, okay, if Malik Willis wants to go down the field twice, not even counting that they have to onside it or get the Ravens to 3 and out really quickly. I just think they were like, I don't think Malik Willis can go down and win that game with the ball in his hands twice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, though. I'm a big believer in taking the points. If it's going to make it from a 1-score to 2-score game, sign me up. I will take it any day. I don't care if it's 4th and inches and it's even 1 inch. If it can give us a 2-score lead, we've seen in the moments, Lamar is so electrifying with his legs. The one thing that the Ravens are not great at is quarterback sneaking. And also, for everyone that complains about the tush push with the Eagles, not other teams are great at that either, by the way. Like, it's a skill. If you don't like it, play better. So I will always take the points personally. That's just how I am as far as in that situation. And I shouldn't say, let me retrack. In that moment, I'm all for making it a 2-possession game, because that everything then has to go completely right for the other team to lose. The percentages go extremely in your favor. And for the Ravens, they built it up then by taking the points, that they found themselves in a position then to be up 2 scores when it mattered most.